Hey everybody, welcome to this week's Paint Club. Well, I guess this is the second edition for this week. This week's Edu-Paint, let's put it that way. If you're unfamiliar, Edu-Paint is a bi-weekly show that I do to try to help people begin model painting and stuff like that for D&D or Warhammer or just for fun. Trying to help out beginners figure out brushes and techniques and other things like that. So tonight we're going to be we're going to be finishing a Chainwraps poured from Games Workshop, 40K, I believe it is. Age of Sigmar. Sorry, I don't really know Warhammer. I just really admire their minis. So we're going to go over some dry brushing techniques, a couple different ones, a couple different dry brush options, going through the brushes again, even though I did the brushes in another video. And then I'm gonna basically just finish this off. Mini off. Last week, if you didn't check in last time, go check out the past video where we did the basing and washes. But just a little bit of housekeeping. BarthelsMarvels is once again our sponsor this week. These guys are great. Go check them out, please, on Etsy and Instagram, BarthelsMarvels. They are handmade goods for your adventuring life, meaning they are licensed 3D printing retailers for patrons such as Yasashi Kyojin, Print and Paint Miniatures, Lord of the Print, and more. They also can do your Hero Forge stuff. So if you don't want to pay like the $30 or whatever the hell it is now for Hero Forge to print your stuff, send it over to BarthelsMarvels and they'll print it for less. I don't remember the exact money and I'm not going to step on Lance's toes there, but email him. He's awesome. He did 6 models for me the one day because I wanted an army of Warforged, and I sent him 2 models and he printed out 3 of each for me, and it came out great. If you're here, you're already on Twitch, but be sure to follow and hit the little bell there so you're alerted when I go live, as well as follow on YouTube, and again hit the little bell there. I try to post all of these up within a couple days. I do these live so people can interact and ask questions. And then also follow me. This is me on Magebrush. That's where I post updates for Paint Club and everything else. And if you want to reach out after the fact, maybe you missed a live show and you don't want to just leave a comment on YouTube, shoot me a direct message. Also, if you shoot me a direct message, I can hook you up with the Discord for this that has a lot of really great people on there that are also more than happy to help. Some of them have been helping me a lot because I'm trying something completely new on my own for a private project, and I'm kind of sort of flying blind, but also really relying heavily on a couple of people who have been really awesome and helpful. So go ahead and do that as well. And if you're not aware, I am doing a 500 follower You Choose giveaway, meaning I am close to 500 followers on the Instagrams. So if you follow and tag a couple people in the post, that's one entry. You can also get an entry for doing what I just said a little bit ago and following on Twitch and following on YouTube. The winner will get to pick one of these 2 awesome models provided by BarthelsMarvels, and the winner can pick the color scheme and everything else, and I'll paint it for you and send it out to you. So there's plenty of time. I think I'm at 430 and change, 440, something like that. I don't remember. I haven't looked in a day or two. So yeah, go ahead and there's 3 ways to enter. There's a bunch of people already entered, but go ahead and do that as well. And then again, they're from BarthelsMarvels. So if you want to look at more pictures, go to their website or Etsy or Instagram and check out more pictures. But for tonight, we are doing dry brushing and stuff like that. So I'm going to go ahead and switch you to the overhead cameras. I hit the right button. There we go. So last time we left off, we were working on this guy. We did all the basing on him, and we did the washes. So now what we're going to do is go ahead and dry brush this. The only place, if you remember too, I didn't wash was on the cloak. On the cloak here, and that's because I wanted to do some dry brushing before that, because a lot of times the washes, especially if you're going to do like a blue wash like I want to do, the wash, what's nice is it will tint everything, not as much as an ink, but it will kind of combine everything together to make it look nice. and I'm going to do some grays, and I want that blue wash to then tint those grays to be along the same tonal value. So for this guy, I think I want to start, and if time allows to, we're going to do some aging on the metal here. I'm going to try to keep this at about half an hour. So let's get going on that. So for the tail section here, we had used the verdigris from Vallejo Game Color, because that's what I really like using. So we're going to just highlight that with some dead white, right? Dead white. Dead white. There's so many colors. I swear there's a dead flesh and a dead white. So when you dry brush, put a little bit in your palette or on your wet palette, whatever. I don't mix anything with it. Don't do anything with that. And I'm actually going to grab it. I'm actually going to use, this is a makeup brush that I found at Target, Sonia Kashuk. I have a couple of them, and I also have a e.l.f. brush. So when you dry brush, you're going to do literally what it says, a dry brush. You're not going to pre-dip this brush in water. You're not going to pre-moisten it. You're not going to do anything. You're going to go right into the paint, and then you're going to go onto some paper towel and just wipe off a bunch of it, because what you're doing is you're working it into the bristles, but you're not making it completely saturated. So when you go over it, like you watch on my hand, it'll just leave little bits, because that's what we want to do to try to help create a blend. So what I'm going to do here, try to be in the camera here, is I'm going to just start going at it, the tail ends, because I'm trying to convey that the ghost boy here is going translucent. And the nice thing about dry brush is it's leaving little bits of the pigment behind. Instead of it being like a regular brush where it's leaving a ton of pigment, it's leaving just little bits. So you can go as heavy or as light as you want, and it makes a little bit of a translucent thing going on. I know this one's going to be a little bit hard to see because it's white, but I promise you things are happening. If you're looking at brushes and stuff, Artist Opus has a lot of similar style things going on, and they do like a little water thing. You can do that too. I actually made my own with a Target trip and got the TSA approved makeup container and threw a sponge in there. It's kind of doing the same exact thing. So I like this makeup brush too, because it tapers a little bit to a point. So it's nice to get into these little sections here. If you can see like where I'm getting in, it's nice for that. And what I'm trying to do is just blend out. I'm going heavy at the ends and lighter up here. So I want to keep that green look in the center or at the body there. I don't know how well you can really see that. I'm trying to shadow it with my hand. You can see the blend difference. But I'm trying to keep that green like in the dark areas and really bring that white out towards the end so it looks like it's going translucent. Like a piece of dust or something. But dry brushing, along with wash, I argue is a really great way, using a bristle, a really great way to bring out a lot of detail. Where wash will go in between all of your cracks and crevices, which is all fun and well and good. The dry brush will do the opposite, and it'll hit all your highlight points. Like, so anything that's like sticking out, this is why, like, if you can, I'll do it with a darker color on my hand so you can see what I'm talking about a little bit better. How's everybody's day going today? As always, if you're watching this live, if I'm going a little too fast, because I try to keep these... hey Road Knight, how you doing, bud? I try to keep these quick so I can put them up onto YouTube later. The nice thing about dry brush too is like you're not committing with a color. And what I mean by that is like you're not putting on a color and then going, okay, this is what it is and I'm done, like putting on this black. You can sit and build up the colors as you go. You can just keep going and going and going and get some really fun blends going. I'm actually quite happy with this. Doing well so far, that's good, man. I've had a decent day today. I was working on my rust diorama. Trying to get the barn wall to look right. I'm trying to do as much as I can while I have other stuff coming in. So yeah, so like right there, you can kind of see it's a little hard on this guy, but we'll use the same brush and we're gonna do some of the gray. Maybe you can see it a little bit better. Some of the gray on the black cloak. And if you decide later that you want to intensify your highlight, you can always go back with more dry brushing. So again, let's get the rest of the paint out. You can see how there's not a whole lot left in there. Did you dry brush large smooth areas or areas of... So it depends on what, there's no, in my opinion, there's no wrong answer here. It depends on what you're doing. For example, I dry brushed the roof and stuff of this truck. This was part of my rust project. I dry brushed some of it because I just wanted to give, like, it looked like a little bit of dust had settled on it. Or, or if you're trying to do some like blending type stuff, if you're trying to do like stuff like this, like water damage, you can dry brush going, normally when you dry brush, you want to go like against the grain so you pick up all those details, but you can dry brush with the grain so you can create a blend in that way. It really depends on what you're going for. And yeah, you can totally do, I hate that this guy wobbles. You can totally do smooth surfaces. Like this is, his cloak is a fairly smooth surface. It's rounded, but it's a smooth surface. So if you follow like Artist Opus at all, they sit here and they use a round brush and they do this stippling method and then blend out from there. And this is one of the methods I wanted to show. So you sit, take some paint, blend it off, and you start stippling where your highlight is and kind of then going away from it. I mean, you're gonna see more progress like on a detail like that. It's like you're on like this side of the cloak with just a couple of swipes. You can see those folds really well, but you can totally do it on a smooth surface to try to create a blend. I would just go super light and super slow and not have a lot of paint loaded up in your brush. Because if you have a lot of paint loaded up, you won't create that smooth transition. I mean, yeah, people do that all the time. It's, like I don't have an airbrush, so I do what I can without an airbrush. Like that's what we just did with just a little bit of quick dry brushing. I'm going to accentuate it now with a lighter gray. So I use this basalt gray. I'm going to use this lighter gray, and then I'm going to hit it all with a wash. Blend it all together. You don't have to use the makeup brushes either. I find they work for blending, but you don't have to use them. You can totally use whatever you want. Like I'm going to do some dry brushing here in a second with some flat brushes. So for this, I just want to go right over the tippy top, because this is the lightest gray. So like right where my light is hitting. And that's actually a good point. Some people have problems trying to figure out where the light hits on your model. One good way that I had seen a while ago to help figure that out was if you take a flashlight and shine it directly above, you'll see all those natural things. Kind of like if you've seen zenithal priming. That's why a lot of people like zenithal priming, because you can see right where the light is supposed to be hitting your model. But I always do the direct on top. It just makes life easy. And then it's consistent throughout all my miniatures. There you go, there's that blended out now. And you can see how it blends to the white. And you can totally leave that if you want. There's no wash on that cloak. You can totally leave that if you're happy with it. You don't have to use a wash. I am going to use a wash, and just real quick to show you what that'll do. Because some people do a wash and then dry brush, some people will do a dry brush and then a wash. So last time we did some basing and then we're going to do a dry brush. But this is what will happen if you do a wash. So you can see how it's all gray with some lighter grays. So I'm using a blue wash. I'm just going to go over it real quick. I'm using the Vallejo blue wash, but you can use whatever wash you want, really. You don't have to use blue. I'm choosing blue because I'm going for this weird ethereal thing that's going on here. If you ever spill over like that, let your brush be loaded with water and then you can generally get it out of there. But yeah, so now I did the blue and it's not dried yet, but you can see how it tinted all the gray underneath to match that blue. So now when it's dry, it's gonna have this like navy blue look. So you can use washes as a way to tint your colors as well. That's always a solid option for you to do. A more basic dry brush for people would be like, let's do like the ground, for example. We use Earth, Vallejo Earth. I'm going to do some dry brushing with Vallejo Khaki on top. On most dry brush videos you see, or people you see demonstrate dry brushing, use a flat brush. And if you're starting out, I definitely recommend getting a flat brush. A number 2 or a number 4 would be fine in this instance. I'm going to use a number 4. This is just the Artist Loft Vienna brush from Michaels. As much as I love Trykel brushes, I love those brushes, love them to death. Their flat brushes are too long for my liking. So, and then again, you just want to go against the grain with your brush. And you can see how it's might be a little bit hard to see, but it's lightening up. I'll go back to the other side here. It's lightening up this section of of the ground. Because what happens is when you dry brush, you're going this way and you're hitting the tops. And because the paint isn't really wet, it's not viscous enough to go down into the crevices. So it's on the tops and just stays there, which is wicked convenient and a good way to highlight if you don't have other means. And again, you can do as little or much as you want. I'm going to do just a little bit here because I also have another color I'm going to use. I mean, that's pretty much dry brushing, folks. It's not rocket surgery. Then on top of that, I'm going to do some bone white. The biggest thing is getting some on your brush, brushing it off with some paper towel. You don't have a lot left on your brush, and then just lightly go over top of the ground, or whatever your surface is. You know, so like if you're following my Instagram and you just saw that, you know, like barn wall I did and the one I showed a second ago, that's mostly dry brushing. That entire textured look is dry brush on that entire wall. And there's my ground. Pretty well done. If you've seen my wyvern that I did a while ago, that was all dry brush. Let's see. What else did we... So I'm actually going to come back with this same guy and I'm going to do some dry brushing on the handle now. Handle of his axe. You can dry brush with any brush, for the record. You can dry brush with a round brush. I've done it. You can absolutely dry brush with a round brush. Just literally as long as the brush is dry. That's legitimately the trick. I'm not trying to sit here and like convince you that this is like rocket science. I'm trying to speed through this to show everybody. We'll do the bone real quick. And this is why I like having different size brushes. So I'm going to use this number 2, this little boy, this little guy, for the bone. And just drag across. It picks out all that wonderful, wonderful detail. And it leaves that wonderful wash in all the corners and all the edges. The nice thing about dry brush too is, like I said before, you can keep going over and over and over and over to intensify it. So, I mean, that's dry brushing in a nutshell. Bonus time, I'm going to show you some metal stuff I want to do. I've been really into doing metal stuff. Get yourself a crap brush. This is not really a crappy brush, but use some Citadel Typhus Corrosion. You can use whatever you want for this, but I say there's other companies that make corrosion stuff, but I say use a crap brush because there's actually an aggregate in here. There's like a sandy aggregate in here, and then what we're going to do is you can just kind of place it in certain places on the model. You're going to really be able to see it on here. literally like corrosion. It's so cool. I mean, that's why they call it typhus corrosion. One of my favorite things to use. But again, Vallejo has a rust texture, not in their game color line. I think it's part of their mecha line. Mech line, I keep calling it mecha line. But their mech line. AK Interactive has stuff. I just like this stuff because it's some of the easiest to apply, I found. But it does really clog up your brush. Close enough? What's close enough there, bud? The mecha? Is that what you're talking about? You can see how it dries. It's super awesome. It just gives this really dull... Yeah, mech versus mecha. Yeah, I have some of it. Oh, it is mecha. Look at that. I was right. It is mecha. But it's got an aggregate in it, so be careful if you're gonna use it. That's why I say, like, either have a brush designated for it, or either have a brush designated for use of this corrosion stuff, or use a crappy brush. I bought this brush a while ago to specifically do stippling and other stuff that's just going to trash the brush. But you can see how now there's not a whole lot of shine left on any of it. So what you can do with that is, once it's dry, you can take a silver again. So we had used the Citadel silver. So what we can do there is take some of this chainmail silver. I like using a brighter one. And like I just said about using a round brush for a dry brush, and dry this out real quick. And now it's a dry brush. Same method as everything else. And work it into the bristles. Now we're gonna use it like a dry brush. Kind of stipple some of that back in. A little bit of a dry brush for, like, rust has been knocked off because the chains are moving now. So cool to do it that way, because then you can create some like streaks, like the axe has been used now from the edge, and get a little bit of shine back on some of your stuff. And then if you want to go another step, this is something I just started playing with, is rust wash. Now again, this is not from the game color line, this is from the mecha line. And I'm thinking about doing a video. I'm gonna throw a poll up. I think I'm gonna do a video up for the differences in the different lines of paint from paint companies. Be like, you know, like what is mecha, what is that's how you fix that mistake. Like the difference between like mecha and game color versus model, because there are some differences between them in the way that they're actually produced. So if that's something that you all would be interested in, let me know. I can do that for the next video. So what this is, it's basically an orange wash that I've really been playing with, and it's fun. So it recesses in and it kind of dries really dark, so it gives that orangey tint to the metal for rust. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, a little bit of left on the board. One more color on the wood. I can't adjust the camera real quick. You can see a little bit better. There you go. Turn down the brightness a little bit. You can see how dry brushing now has blended the white up into the blue. The blue wash had tinted all the gray together. That wash and corrosion did all of its job. Dry brush here. And now you do this 9 more times, because I think there was 10 in that box. You can throw these on the table and harass some friends. The only thing I do left is, like I said before, is I do black around these rings. But I mean, yeah, that's dry brushing and some basic metal corrosion. So I think I'm kind of good for here. So for those on the YouTubes, leave a comment, subscribe, hit the bell, and I will try to get back to you as soon as I can if you have any questions on how to do this. But pretty straightforward. Just paint on brush, take most of the paint off the brush, and then go against the grain. So otherwise I'll see YouTubers next time when I post a video up. So if you're on YouTube,